Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Spoiler Warning Podcast. This is review number 661 with our review of Those Who Wish Me Dead. I'm Christopher Schnese.
And I'm Stephen Miller.
And if you're joining us for the first time, the Spoiler Warning Podcast is a weekly film review program. Each week on the show, we're going to dive in, debate, discuss, and argue over the latest films coming to a streaming platform near you. This week, we did not watch The Woman in the Window, but we did watch both The Woman in the Fire Tower and The Woman in the Box.
Yes.
So this week we are going to be talking about this review of this film, For Those Who Wish Me Dead, and also a little Netflix film that came out called Oxygen, which I'm sure will be fun to chat about in a little bit. But, you know, we had another week little break in there. We're back with two films to try to make up for that. But to start this one off, you know, Stephen, it's hard to get back into the flow, so I'm going to lob a softball for the opening of this episode just to give you a random question for this banter at the beginning of the episode. So at any point during this film, Stephen, did you Google whether it's safe for a 6 months pregnant woman to ride a horse?
To ride a horse? No. To be around smoke? I definitely thought about that a lot. Riding a horse, I did not, and now I'm intrigued. I honestly didn't even cross my mind. I just felt like, yeah, wow, I would be a terrible father to be, apparently, because I didn't even think about that.
I mean, to be honest, I didn't think about the smoke, but I was also still thinking about the riding. I mean, to spoil a visual gag in this film, sorry for everybody before we get into this episode, minor spoilers, but there's a visual gag in which there's a scene with a woman who is 6 months pregnant, who needs to move quickly for reasons I won't divulge yet. And she opens up a door to like a barn or something and goes, should I take the quad? Should I take the motorcycle? And the camera like whip pans over to a horse. And then like we cut to her like galloping into the woods. And this isn't like a little trot. This is like a Erwin, if you want him, come and claim him, it's sort fast. Of gallop.
For some reason, I just feel like I have seen in movies a very pregnant woman on a horse before. I don't know why. I feel like that is a thing I've seen maybe in fantasy.
Or old West movies.
Maybe, yeah. Yeah, maybe. I guess maybe they wouldn't normally be the ones riding. They would more be like held under the arm of someone who was riding a horse. I'm not sure. But you are missing an important part of that scene. Is it cuts to the quad, it cuts to the motorcycle, then it cuts to the horse, and she says, you. Like she is consciously telling the horse, like, you and I are in this together, buddy.
Yeah, I mean, she was probably telling, you see me, I'm 6 months pregnant, make sure that when you do your galloping, you do it in a way that counteracts this jostling action that's going to happen, because I need to keep my child safe.
I should pick the one vehicle that will die if it left in a forest fire.
Yeah, there's a couple problems with her plan, I guess. But yeah, okay. So we got that out of the way. That's just something I had to like, because I don't want that to cloud my review of this film.
No, everything else was 10 out of 10. But
yeah, I just wanted to get that out at the front hand, because from the moment that scene happened, I could not stop thinking about it until the end of the movie. But anyways, we're not here to talk about what activities you're allowed to do when you're 6 months pregnant. We're here to talk about this little film called Those Who Wish Me Dead. So, Stephen, what do you say we get into this review?
Let's do it.
We're going to take a listen to the trailer for Those Who Wish Me Dead, and then we're going to come back and give you this review.
Why'd they put you in a fire tower?
Well, I'm just lucky, I guess. I read the wind wrong. I should have gone to them.
Then you'd be dead too.
That's our job.
Hey! Stop! I'm not gonna hurt you.
I want to see where the blood's coming from.
It's not my blood.
You in trouble? Anyone else in trouble?
My dad said if anything happened, I should find someone I can trust. Are you someone I can trust?
We promise absolutes. Act accordingly.
Those men that came for your father. Did you see their faces? That's them.
Cut you down.
Give me something else to worry about.
Listen.
Run on for a long.
You're gonna run.
Run on for a long.
And you're gonna keep running.
Sooner or later, gonna cut you down.
That eats everything in its path.
You really want to die for this kid?
Take a deep breath. Hold it. And lay back.
What happens next?
You look it right in the eye.
Tell him that God's gonna cut you down. Tell him that God's gonna cut you down.
So that was the trailer for Those Who Wish Me Dead, which is a strange sentence to say for some reason. But yeah, basically it is about a couple different things. One, it's about a firefighter who is sort of traumatized by something that's happened in her past. And she comes across a young boy who is newly traumatized because of something that's happened in his present. And also about a fire. And it's sort of about this woman trying to help this boy run from a couple forces, one of nature and one of man, that is trying to kill him and other people that might be in their path. Stephen Miller, what did you think of Those Who Wish Me Dead?
So I feel like the trailer I just listened to was for the movie that I was hoping I was watching when I sat down to watch Those Who Wish Me Dead, which is kind of schlocky, action thriller, Angelina Jolie, kid being chased by bad guys, fire is involved. You know, give it to me. Maybe it won't be amazing, but it's gonna, keep the thrills coming, right? Like, that's all I'm really looking for in this movie. I do not understand why this movie is so fucking boring. I felt like maybe I was in a bad mood when I watched it, but I felt like there was no forward momentum to this thing at all. And the premise is, again, there are two dueling things, right? There is the people who, I don't know if the trailer gives away who all is after him necessarily. You meet the bad guys right away, and 2 seconds after looking at them, you're like, well, these are definitely bad guys because of who they cast.
That's true.
Like that opened, and I was pretty stoked for it. I was like, oh, hell yeah. We're going to have, like, brutal, vicious, like, show no mercy hitmen that are after, this kid. And then it introduced us to Angelina Jolie, and she's kind of like a now thrill seeker because she's been traumatized from her past and nothing matters anymore. And like that is, you feel like that's going to play in, to make her be like willing to risk everything to save this kid. And then after the first act, like after everything is teed up and it's time to actually care about the kid and Angelina Jolie, I feel like the movie just like doesn't happen. Like the movie is just like, okay, here they are. No, actually, they're going to go back. No, wait. What if there's a confrontation? Actually, okay, we're done. Like I don't know. There's something about the movie that I felt like it really did not live up to the promise of what it set out to do. And part of it maybe is my comparison points. Like, I have seen a great wildfire fighting movie, and it's called Only the Brave. And this movie didn't feel like it made me understand anything more about, like, the risk of wildfires or the way smoke jumpers actually help things. It kind of made it seem like fire just will destroy everything and nobody can do anything about it, and you just sit and wait and, you know, hope you don't die. And then, like, I feel like the fire took away from the Hitman story, which could have been more fun on its own. And, like, the combination just means everyone in this movie, the decisions they make are like the pregnant woman choosing a horse instead of a motorcycle, where it's like, why would you do that? Like, you just boxed yourself into a situation you're not going to be able to get out of, you know? And I feel like the way this movie actually unfolds, it felt like nothing anyone did mattered, and the stakes and the events that happened didn't matter, and people who we are meant to look up to, like literally sitting and waiting, would have had the same outcome. I don't know. There was just something very unsatisfying to me about this movie, which isn't to say that it was bad. Like, it looked cool, you know, the mood is good. Like, I think Taylor Sheridan's head is up his own ass. I think he ruined his reputation for me with that Hell or High Water QA, and now I just look at it. I see that everywhere.
He didn't ruin anything. That was hands down the best Q&A experience we've ever had, and you know that's true.
That was a great Q&A experience, but my opinion of him became like, oh wow, you're like just an arrogant dude who thinks like the movie you made is the most meaningful, you know, ode to the land or whatever. And that's kind of what I felt like with this movie too, is I'm like, man, you could have made like a throwbacky thriller and just given us the fun, and instead you decided like it's going to be about the power of nature, and the fact that nothing happens is really what happened. You know, like I feel like he thought himself into a corner, and it just was like strictly less satisfying than the dumb version of the movie would have been. Like, so it looked fine. The tone was fine. Like, he knows what he's doing. It just, I don't know. I was pretty let down. I thought I was going to have a much more like fun time than I did with this movie.
Yeah, I think for me, this film's main problem is trying to overcomplicate the narrative that it's trying to go to. Like, you talk about the potential for this being like a throwback to, you know, like older actiony fun kind of films that you can get super into. Like, this film should be extremely simple. Throughout the entire plot for who the killers are, have the kid witness them kill somebody else, and then it's like Home Alone style, right? Like, oh, the kid knows we exist. Now we have to get the kid. Like that's right. All the plot you need to have. You don't have to have this whole backstory with like what's going on and why the killers are there and the organization that the killers all work for. Like, none of that is really important. All you have to do is see somebody who witnesses, or even like, what if the dad and the kid were hiking on a trail? You know, the dad saw them from the killers from a ways away and was like, they're kind of scary. Had the kid hide behind a log, pretended like he was the only one on the trail. The guys kill the dad just out of spite, and then the kid runs off, and they go like, shit, a witness, and they go after him. Right? There's plenty of things you could do to start this film off that don't require you to try to come up with reasons why this whole thing is taking place. And I guess this is based on a book or something, but like, you don't have to follow the book exactly. Yeah. Like, if the book is overly complicated, you can simplify the movie. Like, I think that this film doesn't require you to do something complex to create an interesting story here. I mean, like, just running from killers in the wilderness would be interesting enough. What if maybe there's also a raging forest fire at the same time? I think that's a pretty compelling setup for a film that could be pretty interesting.
Well, sure. I mean, like, you could have it at the end, Jungle Book style or Lion King style or whatever. Like, look, there's a fire, and now the final showdown or whatever also has fire coming against you. Like, that's fine. That's cool.
Well, like for me, what I think this film, the better way to make this film, you know, ignoring any source material that it came from, just like the way you could tell this story to be more interesting, which you know, it is something that they may or may not try to kind of do, is I think that you basically split this film into two films. One is scary situation you have to resolve, and then resolve the tension, and then realize that there's still a fire, and then spend a really long time. Like, I think if this was like two parts, like two distinct parts halfway split down the movie, where it's like, oh no, killers, you resolve whatever's going on there, and then you have to spend like another like 45 minutes just trying not to die in a fire, that actually adds some tension where it's like, oh my god, thank god we're alive, and then going, oh shit, there's a fire, how we like it suddenly becomes a disaster film that you're trying to get away from, not just like at the end being like, oh yeah, and there's fire still. What are we gonna do now?
Yeah, and that's the weird, like, again, I don't remember exactly how long this movie was, but it just felt like it dragged out the intro and the setup a long time. Then in a kind of like quick 1-2 punch, it was like resolve the middle part. Oh, also there's another thing. Okay, no, never mind. Like it was just, it felt very anticlimactic. There was something very odd about it. And I know, again, like Sheridan prides himself on like defying audience expectations or whatever. Like, so my big problem with Sicario was that I felt like the final 20 minutes were a completely different movie and like didn't fit with the rest of the pretty fantastic movie that they had made. And I'm sure that was intentional on his part. Like, I'm sure that was a thing that he liked about it. But here it just felt like that ending was just like limp. I don't know. It resolves itself so quickly, and it just made the whole pacing of the movie feel like off to me somehow. Like, okay, wait, what is the conflict? Oh, there's none? Okay. Okay.
Yeah,
cool.
And also, like, the film thinks there's no conflict, but there's definitely still a conflict, because the killers that we meet at the beginning of this film aren't working on their own.
Right.
They work for people with an objective.
I don't think this movie is worth spoiling, but I definitely, at the end of the movie, I hadn't clicked to check the timestamp, and I was like, man, this feels like the ending, but oh, is there like another 20 minutes? I'm maybe going to be interested in what this movie is doing now. And then it was like, nope, the movie's over. We need Those Who Wish Me Dead 2, Day of Soldado or something to just show me more.
Yeah, so that's another thing, too, about this. Like, this film starts with us seeing what it's like to be a smoke jumper and seeing how gnarly this situation is. Then, partway through the film, there's a raging forest fire. There are characters who say, we can't do X because everybody's fighting this fire. But you never see anybody fight the fire. You don't know. Like, there's one character that screeches his car to a Hoult when he sees Nicholas Hoult, when he sees the smoke rising up out of the forest. But like, you don't, like, no one's fighting a fire in the middle of this film. In fact, it sure as hell seems like people are like, you know what? We'll just let this thing burn itself out. And then just like the next day.
Like, I thought it would at least be like, there's a prediction that Angelina Jolie's character makes of like, look, there's a raging forest fire. That means helicopters are going to come, right? Like, that means people are going to be fighting this, blah, blah, blah. And like, there's no way to say this without spoiling the movie, but like, nobody fucking comes. Like, none of these people do anything. At least like not in a time frame when any of it would make sense.
I mean, a plane does come, like her prediction. She specifically says, I should have been in the tower. I should have seen the smoke and called it in, but I didn't. So they'll at least send somebody to the tower to see if I'm okay. And there are definitely people who smoke jump to the tower, but it's like a day later and it doesn't matter.
No, right. Yeah. Like, it isn't reacting to anything. It's like after, I don't know. It was just strange to me. And there's all these weird things like there's a lightning field involved. Like, what are the fucking odds of what happens in that scene? And like, it is like a chase, and then they suddenly are just like sitting and talking in the lightning field. Like, I
mean, it's a freak storm that happens, then it's gone, Stephen, obviously. But here's my question about the lightning stuff. At some point in this film, Angelina Jolie is inside her fire tower, which is, I don't know a lot about forest fire protection stuff, but I assume if you build a giant tower in the middle of the forest, it's made to be able to withstand lightning strikes.
Right, you would hope.
I assume that your job isn't to try to get the hell out of the tower during a lightning storm, because you would think that's the most dangerous place to be, is trying to climb down the side of a metal structure while it's being struck by lightning. But I assume if you're inside it in the cabin, like, you're probably okay, right? She is inside her thing. She hears a loud sound, goes, what? oh no, and then tries to dive off Tomb Raider style off the side of the structure. And I just don't know why she wouldn't just like, get to the center of the tower and then get in a fetal position or something, cover yourself. And so I don't know. I just don't know.
I mean, she is just having the worst day, basically.
I mean, the only way it could be any worse is if she watched 3 kids burn alive.
Yeah. She's like, lightning sends her out of the tower. A kid has like witnessed terrible trauma and has like men chasing after him like 15 minutes after that. Lightning is going to strike later. Like, I don't know. It just felt it's the kind of thing that like I would never nitpick if this were like a fun John Wick type movie. I would be like, oh hell yeah, cool, all this stuff happens. But it is this weird combination of the plot being kind of dumb as hell and like a bunch of weird fortuitous things happening one after each other, but then the tone of the movie being Sicario, of like, this is like meaningful, this is heavy, this is going to be like a, what are they going to do? Survival, blah, blah, blah. And that combo just kind of annoyed me. Like, I'm shitting on it more than I disliked it. Like, I thought this was like a middle of the road, whatever movie. It just like felt like a wasted opportunity, because I think the better movie to make is also way easier to make. Like, you just don't overthink it.
Yeah. So I've been shitting on it for a long time. I will say 2 positive things towards this film. One is I actually like the rapport that Angelina Jolie has with the child. Like, they have at least, it's not chemistry, but it's also a kind of like, I don't trust anybody, the kid, and she's kind of like, I don't want to fucking deal with this right now. And there's like an endearing, like, she knows she has to help him, but she's also sort of over this shit. And there was something nice about whatever they had going on that I kind of enjoyed at moments. Like, I think there's a few times where I kind of went like, like one of those like
I felt that impulse, but then I was like, this kid is traumatized as fuck. Like, he watched, like, do you know what he watched 2 hours ago? How are they bantering right now?
Well, also, I mean, let's be honest though. Like, I always bring it up. My biggest pet peeve in films is when a character doesn't just tell the other person the information they need to understand what's going on. He definitely could have said, like, I literally watched my dad get shot up like Deadpool.
Right.
Except for he can't heal himself. So, so go easy on me, right? Like, he could have said that at any point in time. And he doesn't, because, whatever reasons are.
Right.
But I had enough fun with their sort of their pairing off in this film. The other thing I will say too is, if I'm honest, I kind of like the killers. Like,
I want to see a movie that is just them murdering people. Like, that would be way more entertaining than this movie.
Yeah, like there's something really, like, they act in this universe of this film kind of like a killer in a horror film, like this unstoppable force that just comes no matter what is going on. And there's something kind of compelling about watching them. They're not just assassins. They're assassins with like unlimited resources, right? They just hop on a plane, land in a place, and there's somebody there with a car of 2 different choices, and they just go like, we'll take the truck. And then like they just go on, and it's like, what identity do they need to assume at any moment? Okay, I guess we'll just put on the inspector clothes, or we'll put on FBI clothes, or we'll put on this and that. And like, there is something fun about watching them just, it's not even adapt. It's like brute force take over any situation they come into. And then seeing them like change from, we need to do this thing in a way that nobody knows we were here, and slowly transition to like, nah, if somebody sees us, they die. Like,
yeah, exactly.
There was something really interesting about them as that sort of that sort of force in this film that I did actually genuinely enjoy.
No, right. I enjoyed that too. That's why I was geared up to enjoy the movie. Like, I think the first 20 or 30 minutes or whatever are like setting you up for a pretty good combo. Because the killers, who I guess we'll leave unnamed just in case the trailer doesn't unmask them.
I mean, the trailer shows them definitely doing killer stuff.
Yeah, okay. So Aidan Gillen and Nicholas Hoult, basically, like, Yeah, I like them. I like the kind of unstoppable force thing. They have unlimited resources. They do it easily. They don't think about it. They don't. Or I think there's a little bit of a hint that Nicholas Hoult thinks about it a little bit, and Aidan Gillen doesn't at all. Like, I think there's a little disparity there that they hint at, but they never really play that for anything later in the movie in a way that you would expect them to.
Yeah.
But there's a scene where they go into a house. And I thought that scene was well done. Like the kind of unstoppable nature of what they're doing makes sense. It makes them good villains. It's just the more they start to lose their inhibitions and be like, fuck it, we're just on a killing spree now, it doesn't matter, the less rational any decision they make is. And the movie even like tries to justify it by having someone say like, oh, I don't know, I haven't been feeling good, ever since the last hour or two, ever since certain things happened to my face. But like the best case version of their plan that night, the best case from the moment they set out to find the kid, even in their best case scenario, they would die. That is stupid. Because they are walking into a situation with no exit strategy.
You gotta finish the job at any cost.
But yeah, it's just I don't know. There were just a few decisions they made where I'm like, why are you doing it this way? And like it echoes to other characters too, like John Bernthal's character, the sheriff or deputy or whatever he is. Like there are moments when he behaves in a way where I'm like, okay, yeah, I get it. That guy would do that. That guy would put up a fight in this way. He would feel this way. But the way he winds up acting in the movie is like, he picked the worst of all combinations. Like he's just like, I'm gonna do this thing correctly, but I'm not really helping them. It's like, well, you kind of are. I don't know. It's just it's all strange. It is all very strange. And I really think the 1-2 punch of the fire being a thing while this hunt is going on, to me, it just backfires because it makes the whole movie kind of inevitable, and it makes the stakes for what people do not matter because I can't game out any other outcomes, basically. Yeah. And also, like, without spoiling the ending, even though I know, like, we've talked around it so much, we've probably spoiled everything by now. The way Angelina Jolie is, like, the one hope to survive in this wilderness, to survive the fire, to survive the lightning storm, to get to safety, to do everything. And she respects the power of wildfire. She knows how crazy it can be. She knows how terribly it can turn. The solution in the end is kind of like easy. And two people could have always, I don't know. It's too hard without spoiling it. But there's like multiple things that happen in this movie that are like, if that's where you were going in the end, why did I watch like the last 20 minutes?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know what to tell you, Stephen.
But I don't know. It was the bad guys were cool. Like the bad guys were cool. Watching them take down the car is cool. Watching them storm the house is cool. The way we're introduced to them with that kind of like stone cold, this is just another day at work mentality. It reminded me of the opening of Sicario. Like it is cool and appropriately heavy, but it feels like you're allowed to have fun with it in a way that Sicario, it was harder to have fun with it because that felt more realist and this felt more like, okay, These are supervillains, I just feel like the movie kind of wastes them after it's done with the setup, and that kind of bumps me out.
I think that this film is following too many different people. And if this was trying to be one of those type of movies where it's all these distinctly different people who are all converging on one moment in time that's going to like affect their lives forever, you could do a movie like that. Mm-hmm. But instead, all of these characters know each other in some form or another. And it's like at the beginning of the movie, they go like, hey, can I come by for the game today? And then the movie is just killers trying to follow them to the game. And
also, if you are a guy who knows deep secrets that would put your life and many other people's lives at risk, and you know that you can trust no one, wouldn't you put a password on your laptop?
Maybe he does have a password on his laptop, but when he ran out, he didn't slam the lid shut, so it didn't auto lock, right? Like maybe he was just like, "Oh, son, we gotta go. I just saw the news and a building blew up, and I know that our building's gonna blow up if we don't run."
Yeah, energy saver off. Let's go.
Yeah,
yeah. That was a minor nitpick, but it was just, again, all the nitpicks I would happily forgive if the movie were fun and schlocky and like paced in an energetic way, but it's paced in this dour kind of the movie isn't about what it's about way, and that just made me be like, what? Like there was just no momentum, and that just seemed very odd to me for a movie that should have so much fucking momentum.
Yeah. I'll say this too. If you think crazy corporate killers are coming after you because of information that you have, and you can't tell that information to somebody over the phone because people might be listening, maybe don't call the place you're about to drive to before you head over there. Maybe just show up unannounced and be like, "Yo, can we hide here for a little bit?" Because it just seems like if you can't say stuff over the phone, then you can't say anything over the phone, because it's just a bad idea all the way around.
Yeah. Yeah, and if the way you inoculate yourself is by sharing the information widely, it seems like that should just be your first move.
Yeah, also, it seems like this film is written in a world where Twitter doesn't exist.
Right. And I don't want to live in that world.
I just mean that, like, if his whole goal is, like, we need to first not die, and then we need to get to the news, and then we need to tell somebody. Seems like maybe Twitter is an easy way to just be like, boop, 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 here's all the information, tweet at a bunch of people. Like,
yeah, at Julian Assange.
I'm just saying, not that there's not many times I would advocate for Twitter being the solution to any problem, but It seems like in this one case, once the information's out there, what are they going to do? Kill him?
Yeah. I mean, probably, but.
All right. Well, I think we had enough fun talking about this film. So, Stephen Miller, should we get to verdicts?
Yeah.
All right. If you were going to give this a must-see, recommend with the caveat, wait for rental, pass with the caveat, or must avoid, what would you give it?
It's weird because I have been like just nonstop dunking on this movie, but my actual answer that I had prepared was wait for rental. This is just like a middle of the road. It looks cool enough. There's just not momentum. There's not really a strong reason to keep watching, but like it has good actors in it, and the tone is dark in a way that is like it's not badly made. Like it's fine. It's completely fine. It just doesn't do shit. So I'm gonna stick with it. I'm gonna say like this is like a weak wait for rental. Like you don't rush out to see it, but if you just want a vibe and you forego the desire for this to be like thrilling or anything, then probably you'll enjoy the vibe. It just don't think about it as much as Taylor Sheridan wants you to think about it, and maybe you'll enjoy it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm honestly, I'm actually going to give it a wait for rental as well. I mean, I didn't hate watching this film. I just didn't understand a lot of the choices in this film, and I knew how it could instantly be better. Like, there is enough, like, throw out the survivalist, throw out the cop, just have it be like a dad and his kid trying to run from some people and trying to go to the least connected place he can, which is a place that might have bad cell service because you're in the middle of the friggin' woods, and then have a fire start, and then have them all try not to die, and you have like a decent thriller.
Yeah, like it wants to be Cormac McCarthy, like The Road or something. Just make it like strip down everything else, make it just those people, and that's it. Like it's fine. It seems like it's what it wanted to do anyway, and then it just threw 10 other things in the mix.
Yeah. But yeah, that is going to be our review of Those Who Wish Me Dead. Yeah, Stephen Miller, if people want to find you throughout the week, where can they do that?
If people want to find me, they can use my sat phone at twitter.com/sdavidmiller, or they can call the radio tower at sdavidmiller.com.
Yeah, if people want to find me, they can come find me in the fire tower that I've been sitting in for the last year alone. But yeah, you can find me at ChristopherRealLife.com or Twitter.com/ChristopherIRL. You can find the podcast over at thespoilerwarning.com, where you can get a bunch of the back episodes of the show. If you want to subscribe to the show, you can do so in Overcast, Stitcher, Apple Podcasts, or wherever podcasts are found. If you want to know when the episodes go live, you can follow us at Twitter.com/SpoilerWarning, Facebook.com/TheSpoilerWarning, Instagram.com/TheSpoilerWarning. If you want to get hold of us directly, you can send an email to fans@thespoilerwarning.com, or you can use the contact form on our site. Music for this episode will come from the soundtrack to Those Who Wish Me Dead. You can't use this film's title in a sentence. Any sentence that has other words that come before the title messes it up. Jesus. But anyways, that is this review for this film. We are about to take off, put ourselves in a box, and get ourselves trapped in with no oxygen as we review the film Oxygen, which also came out on Netflix this past weekend. And by also, I mean also it came out on Netflix. This film was on HBO Max.
Good save. I gotta tell you too, there were both movies that we picked to review this weekend were like, will Stephen have an asthma attack from watching this movie? I have two final complaints about this movie that are like a little spoilery, so I'm just going to keep them vague and not follow up with any context. One is, how does the parachute not come back in the movie in a meaningful way? Any other movie would make that be a setup to something. Number two, Tyler Perry.